Just me this time. This lesson is on using order of operations. So if you're having a little trouble with order operations or you want to kind of see a couple more examples, this is a great way to get a little bit of extra help. Our standard is 6EE1, write and evaluate numeric expressions involving exponents, because we're going to see some exponents in our order of operation problems. And our I can statement is I can use order of operations to evaluate a problem. Evaluate just is a fancy word for find the answer, do the problem. So, order of operations, it's the order in which we tackle any problem that we do. All mathematicians follow order of operations, so that way we all get the same answer. There's never any misunderstanding in what orders you do things in or what we should get for an answer. And it's broken down into 4 steps. So you're going to want to write this down. So, order of operations starts with 1. Simplify inside the grouping symbols. So, in elementary school, you might have heard it as inside the parentheses. Okay, so we can have some parentheses, but now that we're a little bit more advanced, we might also have brackets or braces, or if you think back to integers, you might have your absolute value bars, but those are all different types of grouping symbols. So we're going to tackle anything inside those grouping symbols first before we tackle the rest of the problem. Next is find the value of any exponents. And we'll talk about exponents a little bit more in a little bit. But an exponent is really just a number raised to a power. So 3 to the second power really just means 2 3s multiplied together. So it's really kind of 3 times 3. But if there's any exponents, we're going to take care of those after our grouping symbols. Then we have multiplication or division. Multiplying and dividing happen in the same step, so it's not all of one and then all of the other. What we do is we look for any multiplication and we just kind of look across the problem from left to right. Whichever one we come across first, that's the one we're going to do first. And then we finish out the problem with any addition or subtraction. Again, they're both in the same step, so they're both happening at the same time. It's just whichever one come first. Just kind of whichever one was in order from left to right. A good way to remember our order of operations is with our little pyramid. You kind of start at the top with your grouping symbols, that's first. Then you have your exponents. Then you have your multiply and divide. I like to write it backwards because it helps remind me that it's not always multiplication first. It's whichever one showed up first in the problem. And then we finish with our adding and subtracting. But we just kind of use our pyramid as a step-by-step process to walk ourselves through those 4 steps in the order of operations. Last little bit of notes. You're going to start to see something a little different in how multiplying and dividing are written. We're used to these 2 symbols for our multiplying and dividing, but you're going to start to see some differences in how it's written. For multiplying, sometimes you've seen a little asterisk or a little star that you might see, but more often than not, what you're going to see is a dot used for multiplication. So you just want to kind of get used to the fact that that means to multiply. For dividing, we're used to our traditional division symbol, but the one we're going to start to see more and more is a slash. We use it a little bit when we were talking about fractions and that kind of stuff, but that slash really is just another way of saying divide. Okay, so go ahead, jot down this problem, and let's try this one together. So we're going to work through our order of operations. Draw a little triangle here. First we have grouping symbols, then our exponents, then our multiplying and dividing, and then our adding and subtracting. So you just kind of use it as a checklist. We start with parentheses, or grouping symbols. I have some parentheses here, so I'm going to tackle that part of the problem first. 3 plus 6 is 9, so that part of the problem is done. Everything else in the problem just kind of slides on down to the next stage. So we kind of rewrite the problem after each step. So we're done with our parentheses. Next we look for exponents. There's no exponents in this problem, so we skip that one. Now we look at multiplying and dividing. I do see some dividing, so I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. 81 divided by 9 is 9. Rewrite the rest of the problem. So we get rid of the part we've done. Everything else slides down. Now I'm done with my multiplying and dividing. Now I want to do some adding and subtracting. Again, for adding and subtracting, they happen at the same time. It's just whichever one occurred first in the problem. In this case, subtraction was first. So I'll do 9 minus 5 is 4. rewrite the rest of the problem, and then I'm left with my last step, in this case addition. 4 plus 3 is equal to 7. So that's using our order of operations. So let's try another one. 18 minus 5 times, in parentheses, 4 divided by 2, plus 4 to the second power. So we just kind of work through it step by step. First is we look for that anything with a grouping symbol, parentheses or anything like that. We have that, so we're going to go ahead and tackle that first. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Everything else in the problem just slides down because we haven't gotten to it yet. So we've done parentheses. Now we look for exponents. In this case, I do have some exponents. I kind of like to talk to myself and tell myself, okay, 4 to the second power. That really just means 2. Oh, really just means 2 4s are being multiplied together. So 4 to the second power is 16. Rewrite the rest of it. So I've done my parentheses, I've done my exponents. Now I look for multiplication or division. I see some multiplying. 15 or 5 times 2, that's 10. Everything else slides down, so you're kind of rewriting it and kind of funneling down towards the end. I'm done with my multiplying and dividing. Now I'm ready to add or subtract. Remember, whichever one comes first in the problem. So starting from the left, I see some subtraction. 18 minus 10 is 8. Plus 16, my last step is 24. So step by step by step until we get to the end of the problem. So these two, let's do something a little bit different first. Let's number the steps and how we're going to do the problem before we tackle it. It kind of makes us really stop and think about, okay, what am I going to do first? What am I going to do second before I get busy with the actual numbers? So in my first one here, I know parentheses are going to come first. So I'm going to do that addition inside. I don't have any exponents, but then I have some multiplication. So I know my second step is I'm going to do that multiplication. And then adding and subtracting, that comes at the very end. So I'm going to kind of do it in each of those in that particular order. So let's do the problem. 3 plus 8 is 11. Rewrite the rest of it. Then we said we're going to take care of that multiplication. So 9 times 11 is 99. Rewrite the rest of it, and then finish with the addition. 7 plus 99 is 106. So sometimes planning ahead can make the problem a little bit easier for us. So let's do the same thing over here. First, we look for our grouping symbols, or parentheses. I've got that, so that's going to be first. Then I look for exponents. I don't have any exponents in this one, so I don't have to worry about that. So now I look for multiplying and dividing. I see both division and multiplication. So to decide which one to do first, I do which one showed up first in the problem. Dividing was first, so I'm going to take care of that one. Then I'll come over and finish up the multiplication over here. So we do all the multiplying and dividing. Then we come back for our adding and subtracting. The only part left is this addition. So we're going to tackle that one last. So let's tackle the problem. Parentheses first. 9 minus 6 is 3. Rewrite the rest of it. Now we said we were going to tackle our division. 20 divided by 4 is 5. Plus 17 times 3. Next, we're going to finish that multiplying and dividing step by multiplying 17 times 3. You can always do a little multiplication off to the side and get 51 plus 5. 51 plus 5 is an answer of 56. And that's my final answer. Hope that helped you kind of understand how to work through a problem using order of operations, but continue just to use it like a checklist. First look for parentheses or grouping symbols, then your exponents, then your multiplying or dividing, and finally your adding and subtracting. If you take your time and go through it step by step, you'll get the right answer every time.